So Richard, another Champagne Friday, and it coincides with your official 11th 1000 tasting notes. And we're doing it with one of the big icons, the new release of the 2010 Vieilles Vignes Françaises from Bollinger.
Exactly.
And what a beauty we have in front of us.
Yeah, I was just sniffing it before tasting just to know what to expect. I would say today we have three major icons that is the most sought after champagne. It's Krug Clos de Menil, pure Blanc de Blanc. And then the most expensive of all, Krug Clos d'Amponnet. And this one, the Bollinger Vieilles Vignes Françaises. And the reason why it's so special is actually much more special than the single vineyards that Krug is having. Not discussing the wine itself, but the reasons are Vieilles Vignes Françaises. What is it? They started to make this wine in 1969. That's the first vintage. And ever since, it's been around 2,000-3,000 bottles. This time, only 1,416, I think.
1416.
1416 is the total amount of this champagne. And the reason for that is that this is a pre-phylloxera champagne. The pre-phylloxera champagne. You know, the small wine louse that was biting the roots of all the European vines and destroyed them all until they understood that they could be grafted with American rootstock. And when that happened, when they changed that, this was still existing. So it was just a fraction of all the Bollinger production until 1969 when they decided to make this small one. And it was originally from 3 plots, 2 in Ailly and 1 in Boussy. And a couple of years ago, the one in Boussy was destroyed. So they just kept these 2. And still, if you go to Bollinger and go just across the road from the big, beautiful house in Ailly, you will find the small gate where still the phylloxera could creep underneath and destroy that one. We hope it never happens. But anyway, if it does, we will have been drinking this one. I'm very happy for that. So the question, which no one really can have the answer of, is how much of the style of VVF, as we call it, is actually coming from the fact that the grapes are pre-phylloxera? Or how much is coming from the fact that they are planted en foule? How much is coming from the fact that it's old vines, super concentrated, very few grapes picked, very low yield, made in the Bollinger Ailly barrels? No one really knows. I think personally that is a combination, and probably that this pre-phylloxera is not changing so much. Anyway, it's a super concentrated, the most concentrated of all champagnes. I've been seeing people in blind tastings not appreciating it, saying that it's too heavy. Could it be American? Could it be sparkling wine from other places? I always go, oh, how can you say that of something which is so beautiful? It is slightly different, but most of all, there is a super, almost Burgundian red wine-like chewy concentration. On top of that, always the sign, the typicity of Bollinger's cellar. If you go down in the cellars of Bollinger, there is a certain nose that you will find in all the wines from Bollinger, and it's normally here as well. So let's taste, starting with the color, of course. As every vintage, this is 2010, and last time we tasted it was the 07. So 08, 09, not released yet. We don't know if it ever will be released or not, but color-wise, the same. Always deep, dark, golden color.
And again, persistent but very lacy bubbles. Really
so
beautiful.
So beautiful.
Wow.
I wish you were here. This is great stuff. At the same time, there is one part of the wine is so big, so aristocratic and heavy almost, chewy, red wine-like characteristics. But at the same time, there's sophistication. There is precision between the elements. It's more, for me, it's like a big symphony of Bach or Beethoven or something like that, with these huge muscles, these dark notes, even before we taste. So let's taste.
Wow, there we are.
You know, I was my brain was flying away to Patagonia, where I did my champagne hiking with my photographer Paul Allen. One of the best champagne hikings I did in my champagne hiking book was drinking the VVF in Lago de Peoe in the southern parts of Chile, overlooking the most extraordinary mountains, very low temperature, but the purity of the air, the beauty of the place, combination with this very majestic champagne, something that was burned into my memory, and I got the same feeling here again. So I would say that I see a slight difference in style in the VVF since around mid-90s. The ones before were slightly more oily in texture, less bolly. So they are more hazelnutty now. They are more digestive biscuits, better precision, slightly less concentrated perhaps, but still concentrated enough. More minerals on mid-palate, and the same smokiness in the finish.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I know that you, since mid-90s, one small mark, I wouldn't say criticism, but one small mark on the La Grande Année is that it's gone from that red appley, digestive and hazelnutty notes to the more peachy.
Exactly.
And now we see a turn back to the old style.
Yeah.
I think that we still have that oiliness, but not as heavy as the 07, which was extremely Bollinger-like. This is maybe a vintage that is not extraordinary Bollinger-like, but this is, as you say, the minerality, the precision, when you have all these big flavors and big aromas. But what draws it together is those small nuances. Already in 20 seconds, my mind was going somewhere else because there are so much things going on, but the handicraft is so beautiful and it's extraordinary precision. And this is newly released. This is for sure something that you would love to see, this baby travel through the mid ages, through when it's growing up, and through when it's 20 to 30 years. The handicraft is extraordinary. Extraordinary.
I would love, actually, speaking about combinations, of course, this is a very gastronomic wine, but since it's so rare, I always drink it nowadays without food, because there are so many things that you want to search for, and you want to see all the nuances that's actually there. So for me, it's a champagne hiking wine. I go to beautiful places when there's no wind outside, where it's quite cold, dress up warmly, and then you drink it step by step. That's the best way of appreciating this, I think. But on the other hand, if you're indoors and if it's autumn time, why not Italian Alba truffles? I got a lot of those kind of notes on the nose, and if that's the season when you have this bottle, that might be the thing to do. Let's try that with the next one.
I have a little, I'm going through my mind, and I recall a piece that you wrote quite a long time ago. You were with your girlfriend weekend in Brussels. And you were having, after a hectic shopping Saturday, you came back to your boutique hotel. You were sitting with the La Grande Dame 90 from Veuve Clicquot in the lounge. They've lit up the fire. You were sitting, you were quite cold. It was quite rainy. So you were sitting there, in comfortable clothes, wrapped in some blankets and drinking that. And this style is, I can see the image of that setting very much with this champagne. Imagine if you're in the mountains during wintertime, you've been skiing all day long, you get back to the cabin, you kick back and just relax and drink something majestic like this. You don't need any Alba truffle.
And I would say it's instead of the fireplace. You don't need to be at the fireplace. Be in nature, and you will get all the coziness, all your emotions will be wrapped up with this, and especially if you drink half a bottle or something like that, you will be like a VVF yourself, which is something everyone wants to be, I guess. So cheers.
Cheers.
Another great one. Slightly lighter, slightly more bolly, slightly more mineralic, but very, very pure, and again, a masterpiece. Smiling Friday.